Welcome to Curiousaholic. My name's Evan, and I'm here with my favorite piano player, Haiko.
Hello, beautiful people.
So, before we get into today's episode, here's a quick rundown of how the podcast works. Each episode, one of us comes up with a topic they're curious about and reveals it live to the other person in the hopes to spark a deep discussion and further our knowledge of the world around us.
Hell yeah.
We back. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. We've been on and off lately.
Yeah. But yeah, lately there's been a lot of events back to back that, has pushed this out again. But
yeah, a lot's happened.
Hopefully now, I think,
We're on the right track.
The summer season is off, we're all kind of calming down. I feel like in the winter, more colder months, we're more...
Yeah, we're in it as a little more.
A little more, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll give you a little background of what happened throughout this episode, but...
Yeah, in little tidbits.
But
yeah, excited to be back.
Yeah, same.
Excited for a new topic.
Yeah, I was really anxious to record today.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do we got on the plate today?
So, can you tell the audience what the theme was that I said?
Yeah, well, the theme you said, it was leaning towards more optimistic, that things could be more better for us.
We gonna be all right.
We gonna be all right, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a topic of improvement because that's one of our themes on the show, I guess, and we kind of like to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, just improving different things in general.
Yeah.
Making
and
the world a better
I think
place.
you're pretty familiar with this topic, actually, but
Really?
you don't know about it yet. So,
Let me see that teaser.
So the teaser, if you get this, you get $100. If you figured this out, you're a genius. You ready?
Really?
Yeah.
You heard it. $100 on the line.
Yeah. All right. So the teaser is lobsters.
That, where's my $100?
Oh, you know it?
Yeah. You're asking me?
Well, hey. I mean, lobster's pretty vague.
Well, not when it comes to a certain individual.
Is it going to be again the No Nut November?
No, of course not.
Say it
maybe
with confidence.
We might talk with that. But I have only one and only answer.
All right, say it.
Jordan B. Peterson.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the 12 Rules for Life.
Oh, that. Okay.
The book, yeah.
The book, yeah.
Because I officially finished the book today.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. The timing was right.
That's great.
Yeah,
Awesome,
it was
man.
a really good book. I learned a lot from the book. I've used a lot of, those rules in my day-to-day now, and I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to reading the second one. So
I'm glad to hear.
So I even brought it with me.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Just give me a second to get it.
Ah, you were hiding. Wow, he was being sneaky about it. Look at that. I didn't even notice that he brought a book. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, this is the book.
Yeah,
you're familiar with it, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. It's a pretty famous book. Top seller.
It's a great book. So yeah, we're gonna get into it, and we're not gonna get into all 12 rules because that's gonna take forever.
Yeah, I was wondering how you'll set up.
So the way I set it up was we're gonna. First we're gonna outline all the 12 rules and just say them what they are. Just kind of give a little overview.
Yeah.
And then I chose my top 5 favorite, and then we're gonna deep dive in those.
Okay, cool.
So, hope you like it. Should be a fun time.
Heck yeah. He's
all
my
right,
man.
So, like I said, we're gonna be talking about my top rules of the book, the ones I found the most interesting. Some of them I found didn't necessarily apply to me because I'm not in that context. For example, sometimes he takes a lot of point of view from parents, right? And he discusses how parents should educate their children and things like that. But I'm not a parent, but I felt like
it's a future possibility or a future rule that could apply.
It's almost like I put myself in my parents' shoes when he was talking about that, and I found it really interesting. And even though it doesn't apply to me directly, I still use some of that knowledge to my own advantage for maybe a later time,
Yeah, exactly. Because who knows? You might one day have kids, so why not?
Yeah. I found that part really interesting that he talks about in that perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's look at the 12 rules. Like I said, just an overview to give you guys some context, and we could kind of just look at these quickly without getting
for
too
those
much.
who aren't familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like let me just give you a general introduction to the book. So basically, the book is 12 rules that you should kind of live by on your day-to-day to just improve your quality of life and improve your relationships, improve your career. It could be anything. So
yeah, it's pretty broad. It kind of covers different aspects of life. Sort of related to the essential skills episode that we last did.
Kind of, yeah. A little different, I guess. I feel like in the book he alludes a lot to like religion, and he uses that as like a foundation to explain those rules in a like deeper way, you know?
Yeah. A lot of stories, a lot of myths. He likes doing that. He kind of goes off on tangents sometimes, which can be hard to follow for some people. He does use some complex, language at times, but he always comes back to the main point of what he's trying to explain.
And that's what I found a little bit tricky about the book was, like you said, those tangents. Sometimes you're like, man, where is he going with this? And then he kind of like comes back to the main idea, and you're like, oh, I kind of see where he's going with this.
Yeah, or like a whole chapter can just be like this story of like this life experience he had with one of his patients or someone he knew, someone who went through a hard time, to just kind of come back to explain, well, this is the main point of this story,
And I found that really interesting to set it up that way. It's like, I feel like, it's a lot of like different stories that you kind
intertwine.
Like they don't necessarily have a link, but then they somehow connect. You know what I mean? It's like, it could be standalone stories, but they still end up like meshing well at the end, kind of thing.
Yeah. He has that kind of talent to do that, where you don't know where he's going, but eventually he's gonna get there.
Yeah, like for example, he'll talk about like he'll grab a passage from the Bible, and then right after that passage, he'll talk about like a personal anecdote or something that happened to like him or like his daughter or whatever.
Yeah,
and somehow it ends up working out.
Yeah.
So it's really well written that way. Okay, so let's go over the 12 rules. So the first one is stand up straight and with your shoulders back. So pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it explains itself.
The reason why I chose lobsters for the teaser is the first like rule of the book really talks about the dominance hierarchy inside like lobster, like just how lobsters live.
Basically, yeah. And he's pretty famous for that. He also like sells like shirts with like the lobsters and all that, like sort of a meme also when it comes to him. But in the first chapter he explains how like they're very basic brains of even lobsters, they work in a dominance hierarchy.
Exactly.
We have certain dominant lobsters.
And he makes that correlation between lobsters and humans where like lobsters do have that very primitive brain. It's not as developed as ours, but there's somewhat of a similarity at the same time between humans and lobsters where we actually work on this dominance hierarchy basis without even kind of realizing it.
Yeah. It's very like ingrained in the human nature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So that one's I don't want to spoil it, but that's one of my favorite
okay,
rules.
You'll show after which one
we'll get more into detail with that one later. So the second rule is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. So in this chapter is where he says, like, for example, if you have a child, you put all your effort into caring for this child. Like, let's say one example he gives is like, okay, if your child needs to take his medicine at a certain time, then you'll make sure he takes the medicine so that he stays healthy, whatever. But you should do the same thing for yourself. Like you should, stay on track with the medication you need to take, stay on track with whatever it is, your diet or your sleep, and treat yourself just like you would anyone else.
Yeah, which makes sense. And a lot of people neglect themselves. Instead they would help like their mother, father, or family member. You would do everything possible for them, but yet when it comes to you, you're like, oh, whatever, I'll sleep less, I'll work, or I'll eat unwell. Exactly. So
so that one's a pretty good one. The next one is make friends with people who want the best for you. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I think it's one of your top for sure.
Yeah, this has to be one of my top. So yeah, basically the whole point is like if you have friends that kind of bring you down and they don't want the best for you, then maybe some other friends could be better. So yeah, I'll leave that at that. Then the next one is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else's today.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
I like that one, yeah.
Yeah, so just basically try to get better every day and look at how you were yesterday rather than looking at everyone else around you at this very moment and be like, oh man, I wish I could be like this guy or this girl, whatever.
Exactly, yeah. So prime example is like us who lift, doing weightlifting or just working out. We always compare to, how we did in the past, how much we lifted in the past. And, that's more motivating than me looking at some bodybuilder or some, high performance lifter now and realizing, oh, I'm so weak compared to them today.
Yeah, like Jamal that pulled 500 kilos.
Yes, that power lifter, Jamal Browner.
Yeah.
Pretty strong man, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, like exactly. That's kind of.
But yeah, like if I look at him,
right, you'll be like crap, like
I'm not progressing at all.
Yeah,
but I am compared to me.
Compared to you, exactly. Yeah, so that's the point. So the next one is do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them.
Yeah, this one too I like. Yeah,
this one is one of my favorites too. Well, it's like one of my favorites, and it doesn't pertain to me really.
To us now, yeah.
But I still thought this one was one of the most interesting parts of the book.
Yeah,
where he mentions where if your child is doing something that you don't want him to do, then you should stop that behavior, right, and not let it progress any further, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of parents they raise their children in a way where they start doing things that they dislike. Well, it's like, yeah, but it's a consequence of how you're raising the child. Raise them in a way that you would actually like them and not dislike them.
Yeah, and a huge part of that section of the book is that it's not only the parents' fault. That's something to understand. That's something that's interesting that we're going to get into later. Where, usually like a child's behavior is reflective of the parent, but not always. That's not always the case.
Yeah, of course. The child does have its own agency and can, do some stuff that's,
exactly
not disciplined or,
Yeah, it's like you see a child crying and you're always like, oh man, I wish the parents would have raised him better.
To stop crying, yeah. But maybe it's just the child's temperament.
Exactly. So you don't know that stuff, right? What happens behind the scenes. The next one is pretty interesting. It's kind of self-explanatory as well. So this one is set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. This one is also one of my favorites.
That, yeah. I think a lot of like Jordan's like, how do I say, like main sort of rule in life, it's like don't try to change the world before you change yourself.
Exactly.
And set yourself in order, because so many people protest, do activism, try to change the world, but you look at their life and like, where's the order?
Imagine if every person on earth fixed themselves first.
Yeah.
Would there be less conflict in general? I wouldn't say there would be no conflict. I'm saying would there be less?
There would, yeah.
Definitely.
Of course, yeah. Because everyone would be more accountable for themselves and more responsible.
Exactly.
Instead of just, kind of like that biblical, story. What is it? Before you, take something from DI, I forgot. Like before you take the stick from someone else's eye, maybe take it from your own eye.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
I forgot what the exact saying was, but it's like, take it out of your eye so you can see clearly, and then maybe go and take it from someone else.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So the next one is pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
Yeah, it's good too.
So that one is kind of like, reaching your goals is not going to be something that's fast and, really easy to get. It's going to be something that's going to require a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work.
Hard work.
And it's not something that you could just, get on a silver platter kind of thing. So
yeah, which makes sense. Anything meaningful takes long time.
The next one is tell the truth or at least don't lie. So, I don't think we need to say much more about that. It's pretty...
This is sort of like, the same be impeccable with your word from the four
From
agreements.
the 4 agreements, yeah, I remember that.
The 4 agreements is more kind of like these 4 really basic rules that sort of
like 4 pillars. Let's say
4 pillars of like life. This is a bit more specific. I kind of use both in.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I remember some of the things we talked about in that episode.
Yeah.
That I kind of use and I kind of thought about while I was reading this book, because there is kind of similarities,
connections as to maybe he's read it himself and got inspired.
Who knows?
Yeah,
we should ask him. Okay, so the 9th rule is assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. So that one's really important, I think, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's also, again, part of the agreements from the Toltecs, similar to that, because they also have a 5th book that's called, not a 5th book, another book, the 5th rule, the 5th agreement.
Okay.
Which is be skeptical, but learn to listen.
Yeah, I guess that does tie in, right?
Yeah.
So what he talks about is, just assume that the person that you're with or you're talking to knows something that you don't. So that when you're talking to the person, you should be listening and trying to learn and not assume that you're better than that person, because that person probably knows something you don't.
Yeah, because we often do that, right? We often talk. We're like, yeah, okay, finish what you're saying. Let me see what I have to say.
It's like, imagine on this podcast if we wouldn't actually listen to each other.
Yeah, we just like wait. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense, right? Like we're doing this podcast to learn off each other, and if otherwise there'd be no point. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I know there are things that you know that I don't know, and there are things that I know that you don't know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's a perfect exchange.
That's what a discussion is. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Basically, this means like learn to listen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's an important skill. Like if you it's weird, like when you're talking to someone, there's a difference between like listening and like actively listening. You know what I mean? I don't know if you realize that. It's like sometimes you're talking to someone, you're like, yeah, I know what you mean. But then sometimes, like, if you really pay attention, you might pick up things that you wouldn't have otherwise.
True. Yeah. Active listening can be hard. You really have to, put the effort in to do so, but we sometimes don't realize how much, things that we learn from people, even if we think they're like, stupid or whatever, we think that what they're saying is useless, but there might be something there that reveals about themselves. Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the next one is be precise in your speech. So that it's
this not like sort of the opposite.
It's the opposite, right?
The other end.
It's like first is learn to listen, and the other one's learn to speak.
Yeah, be precise. I mean, if there's anyone on this earth that has very precise speech, it's Jordan Peterson himself. If you've heard him or, just his book, he is very precise with his language. Like the way he speaks is very meticulous, and he knows what he's saying. Yeah,
he has a very proper choice of words for everything he tries to say.
Yeah.
Like even when you're reading the book, I notice sometimes there's kind of like an art to that where like sometimes I feel like he tries to lighten up the text a bit, where he kind of he says it in a way that's more like playful, and then he'll make it more serious, because I guess if you just keep it like super just like dry, people are gonna be like, man, what is this book, it's too heavy. But then sometimes he even puts like emojis in the book. I don't know if you realize that. Sometimes he puts like like
a smiley face,
like brackets, like parentheses, and then he puts at the end like a wink or like a smile.
Okay. Just to show that he still has emotions and he's human, that he's not a robot explaining you rules.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one is do not bother children when they are skateboarding. That's another one of my favorites.
It's a good one too. Yeah, just let kids be kids.
Yeah, it's not. I think this doesn't really just apply to kids. It just applies to, in general, like if you have someone that's doing whatever, and it's important to be supportive and not always worry and overthink for that person. That's kind of the whole point of that chapter, because what he says is, if there's a kid skateboarding, you might think a million things. Oh man, he's gonna get hurt. Oh man, he's gonna do this. He's gonna die.
They're gonna hit each other.
He's gonna hit his head, whatever. But then if you sit back and you're like, okay, but he's doing this because he sees value in skateboarding. You know, he's getting healthy, he's learning new things, whatever.
He's socializing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the skateboarding is just one aspect of it, and not.
Yeah. Maybe the kid is shy and like skateboarding is an outlet for him to, you know, get out of his comfort zone or whatever. So why would you not encourage that?
Yeah. Like, don't try to shut down someone's interest because you're paranoid or panicking that something wrong is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like that one. And then the last one is pet a cat when you encounter one on the street.
Yeah, this was like a simple...
yeah, and what...
But it has a meaning.
Yeah, exactly. So the meaning of this is like just appreciate life kind of for what it is. You know, like, oh, you see a cat on the street, you know, it's coming towards you. Oh, pet it because, you know, life is beautiful in that sense. And, you know, a cat is like basically offering itself to you and, okay, here's a nice cat, you know. And not to like worry about the things that you're missing all the time.
Yeah.
And just appreciate those things that are given to you.
Yeah, I guess this is just like be grateful.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's the message behind that.
Mostly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So we looked at the 12 rules, the little overview there.
Sure.
Let's get on to the ones that I chose as my favorite. I kind of gave you a little teaser as we were going along, but now we're going to...
Yeah, I kind of know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
you
ones
know
are...
me enough to kind of be like, oh, I think Evan would like that. Oh. Maybe after you could give me which ones you think are the best.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the ones that I chose as my favorite ones are... Well, the first rule is actually one of my favorites. So the first one is stand up straight and with your shoulders back. So the one that talks about like the dominance hierarchy with the lobsters.
Well, being, you know, confident and, you know, knowing your worth and being able to like, you know, show that you have capabilities and
place yourself in society at a high level, I guess.
Yeah.
Or, then the next one I chose is the third one, the third rule. So it's make friends with people who want the best for you. I'm pretty sure you guessed I was going to choose that.
Yeah.
Then the next one is rule 5. So it's do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Then the next rule that I chose is number 6, which is set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. And that's one that I started kind of implementing a little more.
Yourself,
yeah. And the last one I chose is 11. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. And I put a little picture of a skateboarder there. So do you agree with my list or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have chose those for you for sure.
For me?
Yeah, for you, yeah.
Not for you. Okay.
No, yeah, well, some for me as well, but if you want at the end, I'll give you some of my choice.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's get into like these 5 more in detail.
Good.
So the first one that I chose was the one that says stand up straight and with your shoulders back. So yeah, this rule kind of defines the dominance hierarchy, and I kind of wanted to give a little definition of what dominance hierarchy is.
Yeah.
So the dominance hierarchy is an evolutionary based structure where the most competent, powerful people in a given domain claims the top position. So there are many different dominance hierarchies to climb in, you know, different areas of life. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good definition.
Yeah, it makes sense. He just explains that, you know, there are just certain people who are better in life at certain things. You know, you can't deny that there is a hierarchy, you know. Like a simple thing, like a baby doesn't have the same, you know, strength and capability as an adult. Yeah. You know, just straight up there. You know, but that's like a simple understanding. People are like, yeah, we get it. A baby is not the same as an adult. Yeah, but once it comes to adults, people are like, well, why can't I be the boss? Or why can't I be the CEO? Or, you know, this main important official person? Well, because, you know, have you reached that status? Have you, you know, proven yourself? Yeah. Maybe not. So that's why other people who are more skilled are, you know, at that position.
Exactly, yeah. So, like we said earlier, lobsters do have this similar dominance hierarchy to humans where they have really primitive brains. Yep. But even though we have a very complex and developed brain, we still have that innate and like intrinsic dominance hierarchy that we live by. Yeah. Even though we don't really realize it. So we're always competing within one another against one another. We're always trying to, improve our own status, especially I feel like, well, without being like sexist or anything, but I feel like men oftentimes fall in this, kind of status game.
Yeah, of trying to like prove themselves and trying to climb that ladder.
And I guess it makes sense. Like, if we go back, like in an evolutionary perspective, right? Like the strongest man is going to get the female.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Like you look at lions, right? Just another example. Like there's always the king of the jungle fighting other lions, trying to prove themselves to females. And that's just how nature is, right?
Yeah. The whole like typical alpha male thing, which, it's a bit wishy-washy, I guess, the science behind that. But, it just proves like the dominant male usually gets the perks.
I mean, and of course it's different because we're human, right? And we have like a conscience, and like, lions,
they're
it's
just
debatable if they have one. So we do have like reason also. So like, we're not going to start like punching each other in the face and dominating. Like, come on, Haiko, I'm the alpha male of this podcast, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? But in that sense, I feel like men oftentimes are trying to improve their status one way or another. Like that's just how it is.
That's just how it is. Yeah. It's I guess it's a drive in males to try to climb up that hierarchy, become powerful.
And if women say that they don't care about that, I mean, I think that could be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, maybe because maybe because they want that spot.
Well, that's the thing. Like that's what they're attracted to. Am I wrong?
Well, no, yeah, exactly. You can't deny that. When you see someone who's of a higher status, doesn't that feel attractive? It does. We're not saying, someone who's higher status is necessarily a good person, because a lot of like CEOs and whatnot can be more psychopathic people because they have like an extreme drive to like push to the top, and like they have that zero regret. A lot of time they're ruthless.
Yeah, they're
right?
ruthless. Yeah.
The ruthlessness can bring you to the top, but at what cost, right? And Jordan, that's the thing, because a lot of times people, mislabel him as like this, promoter of the patriarchy or whatever, and the stupid word patriarchy. But
it just reminded me of that video that we saw there. Maybe we'll put it up on the video. It's like, I know what men could do or something. Like, I know the power of the patriarchy.
That doom. Yeah, exactly. So many like the feminists nowadays. There are some good feminists out there, but there are also some crazy ones that criticize the patriarchy and whatever, and saying Jordan is a promoter of that. But he's not. He says that yes, there are some people who are ruthless and psychopathic and would want to dominate in a bad way. But he says at the end of the day, the people who move forward in life are the people who are more cooperative in nature. Like if you are a CEO, you're a person who can cooperate with your team and others to push people up and advance your company or better people's lives, instead of just like pushing everyone out just so you could be in the top. That's not necessarily the right way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so also the way I set this up is that accompanied with each one of the rules that I chose, I also found a quote in the book that kind of enforces the rule a little bit.
Yeah, sure, that's cool.
So it could be fun to look at. All right, so let's look at a quote from this this rule. So the picture I chose also is like two lobsters like fighting.
Yeah, that was his like example of how they try to prove their dominance is by fighting, I think, over a female lobster, if I remember.
Yeah, I think.
Or they fight and then a female looks and sees, he's the...
Yeah, but that's like so many other species in nature, right?
Yeah, but you notice that, right? It's like the males fight and the females look, and it's like, so yeah, that one's the top cheek.
Andrew Tate's a lobster.
Lol.
Okay. That's hilarious.
I think you'd be fine with that.
Yeah. He's a top lobster.
He's a top lobster.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, so the quote I chose from this book is, if you slump around with the same bearing that characterizes a defeated lobster, people assign you a lower status, and the old counter that you share with crustaceans sitting at the very base of your brain will assign you a low dominance number. So that's kind of what you were saying before. You were saying if you slump and you're kind of,
Feel defeated
and all that, then your brain, the intrinsic, primitive part of your brain is going to assign you to a lower dominance in the lower part of the dominance hierarchy.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember, yeah. Where he says, stand up with your shoulders back because it makes you kind of subconsciously feel more confident, more,
Yeah. And you could achieve more. And otherwise, you're going to end up like a defeated lobster. That's actually what he says in the book.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, I feel that too, just in general, being a bit more confident and open with your body
posture.
and posture can be helpful to feel just, like you take your place. And
Yeah. There's a difference between being like confident and cocky, right? Like,
Yeah.
some guys do like pump their chest up and whatever.
What a douchebag.
Yeah. You don't need to do that, like, no, but it's good to have good posture and whatever.
Just, know your worth. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a good quote.
That was the first quote and the first rule. So, do you want anything else to add on this? Or?
No, yeah. I mean, I think the rule itself is pretty self-explanatory. It's just know your worth, be confident, and take your place in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next. So my second favorite rule, which is actually the third rule, is make friends with people who want the best for you. And I chose a picture of the show Friends.
Friends, of course.
Okay, so this rule explains how you should basically surround yourself with people that know your worth and people that push you in the right direction in life. If you have people that constantly bring you down and tell you that what you're doing is wrong, or you're not at the right place, or you should be doing something else, then find other people and surround yourself with people that are going to bring you up rather than bring you down. Also, another thing that I realized is that if your friends that you're with don't have their own personal goals and they're not trying to bring themselves up in the dominance hierarchy, if you will, then those friends might actually bring you down just automatically because they're not striving to be better themselves.
They're just staying at their same position.
So how can you look up to these people if they're down?
I get it. Yeah. So the first part of having friends that support you, I'm all for that. I think we should find people who are supportive, who don't criticize us constantly, who actually try to help us improve ourselves. And a lot of times that's the thing we don't realize, right? We're friends with someone for such a long time, or we just subconsciously are friends with them, but we don't realize like the impact they have on us, right?
Yeah. It's like you have this moral contract.
Yeah.
It's like I've been friends with this person for so long, I can't, make a change.
Yeah, exactly. Some friends, they just become like a legacy friend, right? They're just like they've been grandfathered in your life. So sometimes it can be hard to break ties, or that's why you just have to reevaluate yourself. Not just take granted, the people who are in your life. They're always they're always there for me. Or, are they really there for you? If you call them up and ask for their help, would they really try to
Or they just laugh it off and be like, "Oh, you're okay, man. Don't worry."
Yeah. Or are they just friends who just, want to have fun? That's it, So what more is there in those people, I guess you can have like different levels of friends. Like we all have, right? You have your close friends, a bit further, acquaintance, whatever. You're not going to ask your acquaintance, "Hey, I got like something really bad to tell you, like get this off my chest," right?
Yeah.
You basically have certain boundaries with different types of friends. So got to reevaluate and see who's in your close group and who's not.
Yeah. And that changes over time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, friends come and go, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes you just need to learn to let go as well.
And that's the hardest part.
That's it's nothing is eternal. People come and people go because people change.
Yeah,
That's
that's the thing. Yeah,
and maybe that's for the better. Maybe them changing and breaking off is how they're gonna grow in their own lane.
yeah.
You know.
I think sometimes you need to let people go so that they could improve themselves.
Yeah, because they're like that and they're always like, in this repeating cycle, kind of like a car that's stuck, can't really go forward. But then when you break off, then they like
Yeah, they
start
the
moving.
wheels start spinning. Yeah, yeah, I agree. All right, so yeah, we could look at a quote also to
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
enforce that one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this one's kind of like a straightforward rule, I guess. Like it's pretty,
Makes
self-explanatory.
sense. Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at a quote from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when people have a low opinion of their own worth, or perhaps when they refuse responsibility for their lives, they choose a new acquaintance or precisely the type who proved troublesome in the past. Such people don't believe that they deserve any better, so they don't go looking for it. So basically, yeah, so people think that they don't have enough self-worth to go find people that are better for them. So they just stick with the same people, or they find new people that are kind of, average and
The same as like previous friends they had.
yeah, and might not be the best influence, or like I said earlier, might not have their own goals that they're pursuing.
Yeah.
Do you know like there's some friends like that I've been around that kind of are just stagnant, and you're like, how does that improve my life? Like not to say that their life matters that much to me that I won't improve mine, but I'm saying like if someone has their own goals, then you'll be inspired by someone, right? And you're gonna,
Yeah, true. Yeah, so that one where, you have friends that maybe might be stuck or might have some difficulties or, they're still not there yet. You could still improve yourself and maybe just see the value in, the person they are. Maybe they still haven't been able to figure it out. But I guess it's the mindset or what kind of attitude they have or
But that's the
how
thing.
open-minded they are to improve, Are they like, no, I don't want to. I don't care about this.
But that's the difference. Some people, like you said, are not there yet where, they still haven't reached a point where they're, successful and advancing. And that's okay because they're working at it still. But people that are not there yet and they don't care.
And they actually regress.
And they regress. That's a defeated attitude, right?
Yeah. And I guess it can't really be a positive.
No, how does that affect you positively? That's exactly what this is trying to say here. If you're already down in the dumps, right?
Yeah.
And then you go look for people that are also down in the dumps.
How does
that help you? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess at that point it's like, what is the point of finding a person like that?
Exactly. It's not going to help you. You might as well find people that are advancing and they're progressing.
Yeah. Maybe they're not at that top point.
Yeah, they don't have to be like, super successful and, whatever it is. No, at least like if they're ambitious and they try to do things, that's
work
enough.
Hard on themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So
yeah.
Same. I avoid, people like that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to add for this one?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he mentions that directly, but I guess just make sure to have quality people instead of quantity.
I'm not sure he talks about that, but I find that's a good point. Yeah.
Like, you might not find 10 friends that are all aligned, all, goal oriented, but you might find 2. Maybe that's just enough, or even 1.
Yeah.
It's better than 10 that are just
exactly
not that great.
That just want to party and
exactly.
have fun.
That's the thing. Like sometimes with a friend, you want to go a bit more deeper, but it's like, just party, play. Okay, what's the point?
Yeah, like just for example, like myself and Haiko, right? Like we're both pretty goal oriented. We started something together that'll help like progress both our lives at the same time, right?
Yeah,
it's like a win-win situation almost in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So, find friends that want to, partake in like different activities and projects and whatever to just improve.
Yeah, and actually like care about other things than just having fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example,
Right.
just another thing, right? Haiko and I built his home gym, right? That was a fun little project. Didn't last that long. Like, it was fast. Like, it was a few months in the making, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
We got it done. All right, on to the next. But we still did something, right? Still, like, I won't forget that. It was a fun
It
thing.
was fun. Yeah,
right.
the whole day that we went to scout for the equipment.
Yeah, we drove this pickup thing, and like it was fun, you know.
Yeah.
We saw this crazy accident on the road.
Yeah, it was a bit of a wild day, yeah.
Yeah, it was a wild day. So yeah, all that to say that find friends that are going to improve your life rather than bring it down.
Exactly.
All right, so next. So rule number 5 is do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. So this rule actually explains that not all children are innately good.
Yeah, I think he does say that.
He does say that.
Yeah.
And that I found super interesting because you, like I said earlier, you know, you always see children crying. You're like, oh man, you know, the parent is not doing its job. He should be, you know, giving what the kid wants. He should be, he should know what to do in this situation, whatever. But not all parents are perfect in that sense where they're gonna understand their kid perfectly, especially that the kid, you know, hasn't developed yet. It doesn't know how to speak yet and stuff like that. And it could be that the kid
Just
is manipulating the parents.
Yeah. I think it's been documented that a lot of babies, you know, they use the cries because they just learn. Oh, okay, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna get what I want.
Exactly.
So
and that's you already figured out what I was gonna say later. But
jumped a bit forward.
Yeah, you jumped a little bit there. Yeah. So this whole section of the book talks about how it's important for parents to discipline their children and not make them do whatever they want, because that's gonna take control of them, and it's not good.
Yeah.
So he talks about different tactics to, you know, discipline your child. And he talks about an anecdote where he was babysitting a kid and like the person brought the kid over to his house and he's like, hey man, like this kid is going to cry the whole night, whatever. You're not going to sleep. Like, trust me.
Remember.
And then he's like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
And then he took on the kid and he started crying, and then he came in the room and he just kind of looked at him, and then finally, like, the kid understood, hey, I shouldn't cry. And then he went to sleep. And then
he didn't like yell or
the whole
become
night.
Angry.
And then the parents came back and they're like, "Oh, did you sleep last night?" He's like, "Yeah, it was fine.
No worries.
No worries. All good.
Sleep. He was fine."
Yeah. So yeah, he talks about different ways to educate your kid in that sense, and I think it's really interesting. Even though I'm not a parent, I still found it really cool that maybe I was an asshole when I was a kid. Sorry, mom, dad.
Yeah, you kind of reflect on yourself being a child and how you were.
And it's kind of true, because when I was reading this section, I would look back and be like, man, I probably was an asshole, you know?
Without even thinking about it, yeah. Yeah, I like this because that's the thing. It makes you, I guess, be more of a responsible parent, you know, a parent that takes charge in actually disciplining you, you know? And
yeah, and it's not bad to discipline.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. Yeah, a lot of parents are scared, like, oh my god, no, let him, you know.
Yeah, like let him cry, do what he wants. You know, like, oh, he's so cute. Like, do I want to?
Oh, look how he's mischievous. You know, breaking shit.
Exactly. Oh, he's
he's like a little monster.
He's learning how to use his hands to destroy shit.
It's like that little baby in The Incredibles that becomes like bad angry and on fire.
That kid. Oh, that's funny. I missed that movie.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Movie, yeah.
I think I saw the second one. Is there?
Of course. Yeah, second.
I saw both.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so it's important for parents to learn how to discipline their kids, and it's not bad to do so. Like, just get that out of your heads. I'm not a parent, but based on what Jordan said, you know, you could take his word for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's a good rule. Even if you don't have a kid, you know, it might maybe apply to you in the future.
Yeah, and I think this made me reflect on myself, like, previously. I think that's why I liked this so much.
That as well.
That maybe like I wasn't an asshole.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily do that myself. Like, I really thought for my future because one of my goals is to have a family and one day some kids. So yeah, I was like, I'm gonna try to make my kids the way that I would like them. Not just let them wild and be like, oh, why are you so bad?
You know, like the old saying, like, make your kids better than how you were, kind of thing. Like, always trying to make your kids even better than yourself.
Yeah, true.
And I think that's a good way to go about it. I mean,
I agree.
If it takes discipline to, make your kids straight.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that sounded weird, but in line.
Put him
let's
into
say,
line.
Yeah. Then he has to.
He has to
do
learn.
What you have to do.
Yeah, it's not you being a bad person. It's you teaching a lesson. For their own good, because that also socializes them to be good around other people's.
Yeah.
I don't know if he mentions it in the book, but I've heard him say many times in videos where a kid, if it's not socialized by the age of 4, then he's gonna have a hard time for the rest of his life. Just being around other people. Like they say if a kid is like aggressive and you don't control that until like 4 years old, it's gonna
I think he briefly talks about that actually. Yeah, but not the 4 years old thing. But he does mention like if a kid is still kind of like out of control
at an
early age, he's gonna have a hard time with going to school and socializing with other people.
Yeah, so that also ties into
this. Good point. All right, so let's take a look at a quote from this rule. Yeah, so I put a crying. Okay, so which kind of cry is this?
Oh my god. I'm not a baby whisperer.
Baby whisperer. Yeah, so like Haiko said before, kids cry in certain ways to get what they want or because they're actually sad or afraid.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there was a lady researcher that actually studied the cries of babies.
Yeah, that's what this is about.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, does he say that?
Yeah, it's mentioned in the book.
Oh, okay.
That there are studies done on exactly the musculature of the baby's face when he cries, and they analyze the emotion that's attached to that. That cry.
As in the facial expressions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was talking more like the language babies use, like when babies do like da da da.
Okay.
And they analyzed like a bunch of samples from that, and they kind of said, okay, if the baby does meh, meh, it means that.
That's gonna be the promo clip right there.
I mean, yeah, Haiko doing baby sounds. Yeah, so when you do meh, meh, or da, da, or whatever else, it all means, okay, I'm hungry. Oh, I pooped my pants.
Yeah.
Or I want some milk. Whatever.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the psychology of babies.
Yeah. No, well, like their language. Apparently, babies have some sort of language. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so let's read the quote. So scared parents think that a crying child is always sad or hurt. This is simply not true. Anger is one of the most common reasons for crying. Careful analysis of the musculature patterns of crying children has confirmed this. Anger crying and fear or sadness crying do not look the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I forget, what does he say? So like when a baby's anger crying, like
he wants something. And he wants, I want that toy. He just cries, and you could tell like he's like annoyed and pissed off, rather than like afraid and
like sad
help. Or like actually crying. Right?
Like I need.
Yeah, like I need help, or something's wrong.
Okay. Yeah, there's like an annoyed cry, like man.
Yeah.
Typical baby. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, the typical cry, because that's probably most of the time what it is, right? Because like you and me, we don't cry for nothing, right? When we cry,
if we cry,
it's like shit. Okay, something is wrong, dude. Like if I see you crying, I probably figure that something's wrong.
Horrible happened. Yeah.
Not that like I don't know you're hungry. Like I'm not gonna start crying because I'm hungry now. Unless it's been like a long time I didn't eat, but anyways.
Yeah, I guess it's just their way of communicating the anger and annoyance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty good rule. I like this one. This is probably one. I think if I had to choose, this is probably my favorite rule.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because it was so out there, especially this thing with the babies crying. I found this like really interesting.
Interesting one, yeah. Yeah, it's specific and
it's pretty specific. Yeah, this one's a good one.
Cool.
All right. So anything else to add to this one?
No, that's
Alright.
pretty much good.
All right. So rule number 6. So set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. So
Yep.
this one, pretty straightforward, right? If you can't organize your own thoughts and you can't organize your house, then how can you possibly conquer the world?
But you
It's
know,
kinda
like
what it is.
literally though, like, can you organize your house? You know, I guess that's what he also says, right? Like literally, like if your house is a mess.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
He definitely says that.
Yeah.
And it's also like, yeah, you could look at it as your house, and you also look at it as your thoughts too. It's kind of like a parallel. Like if you're, if your thoughts are all disorganized, and you don't have like direction, how can you possibly,
Make a
rule
change.
anything else?
True.
Make a change or whatever it is you want to do with your life.
And that's what I find, that a lot of like people who protest or do activism or who try to push for change, when you like interview them or ask questions like, what do you actually think about this? They're just like, whatever, I find this bad. And it's like, okay, why do you find it bad? Well, because it can't be this way. Yeah, but
Yeah.
why? But you start questioning, and then you see the thought just like crumbles. They don't really.
Yeah, and they blame like the big picture all the time.
Yeah,
It's the
like,
government, or it's
the company.
yeah, the company, or it's freaking, I don't know.
Trump.
Yeah, like they blame. Yeah, like, okay,
Whatever
I get it.
abstract,
For example, Trump, like he was pretty controversial, right? But they somehow made everything about Trump. Like seriously, like especially older people, like all they talked about was Trump all the time, and it's like, man, don't you have anything else to worry about, like within yourself, that you could fix first before blaming this orange blonde guy that's 70 years old that you never met?
Yeah, with a vocabulary 30-year-old, but no, I mean, listen, yeah, that's the thing. Just like, don't just blame one thing without actually understanding,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
complex issue at hand.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, like if everyone would fix the problem within themselves, then there would be much more peace in the world. Because I feel like a lot of the issue comes from anger within people that they haven't like resolved within themselves, and then they bring it out and they blame it on other shit, and they blame it on other countries, and then wars start and stuff like that. But if everyone would look at themselves first and be like, what can I change? Then a lot of the issues would stop. Like, for example, just a really easy one. Let's say the environment, right? Everyone's saying climate change. What are you doing yourself to stop it? Like,
Yeah.
it sounds stupid, but like, okay, fix yourself. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna go see the company next door. Like, hey, your emissions are too high. Like,
Yeah.
What are you gonna change?
You are using a car.
Yeah.
You are burning, maybe some other fuel or coal, or some places, they use that. You're still using energy. Would you rather, desist to exist? Because you're,
Yeah.
causing a lot of pollution just
And-
existing.
And actually, the environment thing is actually something he talks about in the book as one of
Yeah.
the examples.
Yeah, because it's one of the main,
Yeah,
protests
because
in the
everyone
world.
blames it on, like,
Climate change.
China. It's China's fault. Okay, I get it. Sure, they produce
play
a
a
lot of
part.
pollutants and whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but do what you can. You can't change what China's doing.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
exactly.
You're not going to change what they're doing.
We can't stop them from, progressing their country and, evolving. Yeah, that's the thing. The whole thing with the climate change is that it's a very complex issue. It's not just like, we're polluting, we should stop polluting. It's not that easy, because, there's a lot involved. You want to still drive your car, you want to still get your goods delivered, you want to still have your comfortable life with your iPhone in your hand. Where do you think all that comes from? From freaking China,
Yeah, exactly. It's very complicated, and
That's the
the thing. You can't fix something that's super complicated. So start simple, and starting simple is yourself.
Yes.
And once
There you go.
And once you mastered that, then go on to more complicated issues.
Yes. There you go. That's it. That's like, people jump to the freaking, most complex issue of all, like climate change. Like, how, really?
Yeah.
Really? Let me see your bedroom. Why are you at? What do you have socks in your?
Let me see your environmental studies degree showing. No, I'm not kidding. Like, what's your background? Like, how are you going to fix the issue yourself? You're not.
Yeah.
You're not educated in the subject.
Yeah.
You don't even understand it. So how are you going to try to? Going outside with a freaking sign like, hey, like it's not gonna, it's not gonna change that much.
Yeah, it's like you can express a concern for something, but at the end of the day, like, okay. So do you have a plan? Do you have some sort of, step by step here, or?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to make a change, start small and then progress. That's it.
Yeah.
Progressive overload.
Yeah, exactly. It's like progressive overload with your own, order in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's take a look at a quote on this.
Yep.
All right. So the quote for this is.
It looks like a picture of my wall art here.
Yeah, I know.
From New York. Yeah.
Why do you think I chose that?
Oh. I guess.
It was New York, so I was like, it kind of looks like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right. So the quote is, don't blame capitalism, the radical left, or the inequity of your enemy. Is that how you say that? Iniquity?
Iniquity? Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure what that means.
I know inequity, but iniquity?
Yeah, iniquity of your enemies. Don't reorganize the state until you have ordered your own experience. Have some humility. If you cannot bring peace to your household, how dare you try to rule a city?
Yeah.
Perfectly said.
That's it.
Especially that last line, like, if you cannot bring peace to your own household, how can you rule a city? Right?
Yeah.
Like, how better said than that?
And like a counter argument that I hear sometimes for this, right? They're like, well, yeah, but I don't need to like fix everything in my life. I can still care about the environment,
No, you can.
It's like, yeah, you can. Like I said, you can always express concern for certain things, like, okay, I don't know.
The war in Ukraine, I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I going to change it?
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
not.
Am I gonna kill myself and protest and cancel people and like like different issues, drug problems, war, sex trafficking, whatever. There's so many bad things that happen that I'm like concerned about that. But how much am I aware of that, topic to be able to
Like I said, if everyone strived to be a better person, then a lot of this shit would be less, So
yeah, I definitely agree. It's not to say there aren't big issues in the world, but let's each do our part. At least.
And that's the natural course of life. There's always going to be, some type of unfairness. There's always going to be conflict somewhere. Even if everyone was perfect, there's still going to be a problem somewhere.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
someone's gonna have a problem with the perfectness.
Yeah, I guess that's an issue to be too perfect.
Yeah,
that's one that I have.
That's what you have.
No, but no matter what, there's going to be some type of conflict, but if people just try to be better, then there's going to be less. It's never going to go away completely, but it's going to be less.
But always the first step should be you, not them.
Yeah. And that's something I tell my parents all the time. They're always worried about the news or watching the news. I'm like, man, aren't you worried about yourself? Like,
yeah, like what are you doing?
Like, why? Like, why do you need to look at the news 24/7? Okay, you could look. Like you said, you could be concerned. You're allowed to be. It's good to learn about the world, anyways. Like, look at what's happening, but don't overthink it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Media and news today, they just want to make you care 24/7 and always have an opinion on every goddamn thing.
And think about it, right? Again, going back to the COVID, I know we kind of beat this one to the ground at this point, but like, if like everyone was less concerned about the big picture, right? About COVID, like how it affected everything, whatever. If everyone kind of, sat back down and be like, what can I do to improve the situation? And maybe it would have been better, right?
True.
And we went straight to blaming the government for the lockdowns and shit. But
people not wearing masks.
We always blamed everyone else, but we never blamed ourselves for what fucking happened, So,
basically, take some responsibility, folks, before criticizing others. That's it.
Jocko.
Oh yeah, Jocko would be.
No, but Jocko and Jordan did a podcast.
Yeah, true. Yeah, he had him on.
And I heard Jocko saying that he learned a lot of what Jordan said in his book through like life experience, whereas Jordan kind of learned it like by studying. and it's kind of, they like came to the same conclusion, but just kind of they strayed their different ways. It's pretty interesting.
That's cool, yeah. Which shows that there is some
universality.
Universality to these rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Mm. All right, so I think this is the last one.
The last one, yeah.
I hope you like the picture I chose.
What the heck?
Yeah, so the last rule is do not bother children while when they are skateboarding. So like we said earlier, this rule is just simply, you know, if someone is doing something that they think is going to bring value to their lives, try not to stop them from doing that because you're overthinking yourself, right? Because that's just bringing down the person from reaching their goals, and it's also bringing you down at the same time because you're being worried and you're overthinking, and it's just not good for you, the whole situation. It's not good for the other person. It's not good for you either.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool because in this part they talk about like the Oedipal mother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember that.
So it's like they talk about like the Oedipal mother that's like overly concerned and just
overly protective
of
their child.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, you know, you need to be careful with that too, because yeah, if you're just overly protective of your kid, then you're probably stopping their growth, right?
Yeah, you're killing their drive to, you know, actually develop and become independent and find their way in life.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's just trying to strike that balance of, you know, letting them do their thing, but always keeping an eye and
exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like, yeah, do your thing, but you know, be there for them, and put them in the right
for them.
Put them in the right path. If you see they're going straying in the wrong direction, then yeah, just, you know,
help them
go back in line, and that kind of ties in with the other rule, right? Where you want to discipline your kids.
Yeah, so you don't dislike them, yeah.
Yeah. And I found this picture really funny. It's like this kid going to like it's like, I guess, his birthday, and like he has a birthday hat, he's holding a cake, but he has like the
wrapped in
the
bubbly?
wrap, like the bubbly wrap, like all over him. I love it. Yeah, it's funny.
What is that, punishment?
Yeah, it's like a punishment. Like, all right, you can celebrate your birthday, but be careful.
Can't eat the cake.
Yeah, you can't eat the cake. Or
that's funny.
So yeah,
this rule as well. Yeah, it's kind of a peculiar one. You know, it's like, wow, okay, that's a rule, but it has more of a deeper meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not literally
it's a rule, but it's
like don't bother kids skateboarding. It's not just about that. It's just
there's a deeper meaning to pretty much everything he says in the book. So
yeah, you can't take it to face value.
Yeah. So I also found a quote for this.
Let's see it.
All right. So the quote goes, "The terrible mother is the spirit of careless unconsciousness, tempting the ever-striving spirit of awareness and enlightenment down into protective womb-like embrace of the underworld." So it's like, it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And notice I put like the mom in Snow White because like he talks about that in the book where she's kind of like that. She's like a witch. Where is she the witch? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I don't even think I've seen.
Yeah, she's like she's like the overprotective mother, and she's like she's basically like she's like the antagonist of the story.
Oh, okay.
So that
just kind of wants the girl to be hers and under her control.
Exactly, and yeah. She wants her to be like perfect and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And not to have flaws and not take risks and shit like that. You know, it's kind of that's kind of the message.
Go out in the world and face the world.
So it's kind of what the quote is saying is that like don't protect your kid to the point where like it's kind of like it's like back in the womb, you know. It's like she's
like literally
in the womb.
The womb, yeah.
So that could be detrimental to your child. It could also be detrimental to you because, you know, if you do that, you're just bringing yourself down and your child. Like you said, like I said earlier, if you want your child to be better than you were, then overprotecting them is not going to make them better. It's going to blind them, right?
And I guess you're going to consequently feel worse because you're going to see your child suffer really quietly, you know, not really feel good about themselves, and then you're gonna feel bad, and it's just gonna be like that repeating cycle.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So
So,
that was
yeah.
the last rule. So
Pretty good.
do you wanna do your top 5? Let's go back to
Oh yeah, like a quick
the little quick one. All right.
my top 5. Okay, so from the 4 here, man, I only have 5 to choose. Come on.
Oh, you
I'll
could choose more if you
all
want.
of it. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I'll try to choose 5 just to
Yeah.
restrain. Okay. I guess yeah. Okay, I'll take the treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
That was a good one.
I like that. Just to actually care for yourself, because it's like a good way of comparing. Helping someone you love that they're sick or whatever. Why don't you do that to you? Are you not worthy of the same attention? So
Yeah.
I think that it's a good one. Okay, we'll go to the next ones. Maybe I might choose another one from here, but yeah. So do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. So yeah, the first one was carry yourself like you're caring for someone. The children one, tell the truth or at least don't lie.
Okay.
That. Maybe next. Be precise in your yeah. I mean, that kind of. I don't know if it ties to the truth thing, sort of.
The skateboarding one?
No, I would say yeah. Be precise in your speech. And maybe another one from the first page. So I'm kind of like going back and forth.
That's all
here.
good.
Yeah,
The
you know what?
lobsters.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not someone else today.
Okay, so we chose like completely different ones, I think.
Completely?
I think
No,
you-
if you.
the only one you chose that was the same as me was
So I chose to treat yourself like someone you care for.
I didn't choose that one.
Okay. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
I didn't choose that one either.
No. Do not let your children do something.
I chose that one.
Yeah, you chose that one.
Okay, so that's the only one that we chose in common.
Tell the truth or at
I
least
didn't
don't
choose-
lie.
No.
Be
And you
precise
chose
in your
this one.
speech. Okay.
Yeah, so we
I
only
kind
got
of
one.
like chose maybe some of the other ones.
Yeah,
who,
you
like,
chose.
completed
Wow,
the
that's
list.
interesting. All right. Cool. Yeah, so you like I said, like we could have different perspectives on this, right?
Yeah,
It's-
but I'm not saying that I don't agree or that I wouldn't
Yeah, yeah.
follow those rules. It's just, I guess, yeah,
Preference,
maybe
yeah.
those I connected more, maybe for myself. And
yeah,
whatnot.
exactly. So let's just look at some final thoughts.
Wrap it
So
up.
yeah, these rules are definitely rules that you should live by and have it'll give you an order and a structure to your life. And that's something that we kind of prove something I wanted to say is also you should have your own interpretation of these rules. Everyone's going to read the book and understand it a certain way, and it's not going to be the same as how Jordan understands it. It's not going to be the same thing as how we understand it.
Yeah.
And you should have your own interpretation of it. And we kind of just proved that, right? Like we both chose totally different rules that we would live by. And I think that's important to make your own opinion about what you read, so that you could have a better structure for your own life.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, each of our lives are unique, and they're meshed with other people's lives in different ways, and how we connect with people and others. I don't know how to explain this. Like, everyone has their own perspective in life and how they see themselves. So some things apply to some more or less. You have to find your way.
Yeah, exactly. Any other final thoughts?
Any other final thoughts? Well, if you haven't read the book, definitely recommend.
Yeah, that's a pretty good final thought.
Yeah, so huge fan of Jordan myself for sure. I kind of like brought him to you. I don't know if you knew him before.
I definitely knew him before, but
Yeah.
I just I didn't read his stuff until recently.
I did go see him. I don't know if I mentioned this before in the podcast.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, to people watching us, that I did see him finally for the first time. He came here to Montreal. I think that was his first ever time that he came to Montreal. Funny enough.
What do you? No,
Like
he actually studied here.
No, I know. I mean, that
On
he
tour.
made that he did a show. That's the thing. He lived here for a few years, or I forgot how many years. I think 6 or 7.
Quite a few years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quite a few years in Montreal. He studied at McGill University, but then when he left, yeah, he never really did a show or tour here, and that was one of his first. And
Yeah, that's interesting.
people were very exciting to see him. So yeah, I definitely recommend watching some of his videos, podcasts, reading his book, and who knows, maybe the future topic would be the second book.
Who knows?
12
Yeah.
more rules.
I'm
for
definitely
life.
gonna read the second one. Did you read it?
Yeah, I've already read it.
All right. I can't wait to see what's in store.
It's a good one too.
All right.
So
So
yeah.
so that's the end of the podcast. You guys could check us out on all your favorite streaming platforms: YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Yeah. So make sure to write in the comments what your favorite rules were from this topic. Let us know what you thought about the book if you read it.
Yeah.
You could leave recommendations for any other books and whatever. Maybe we could take a look at those as well. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.